father sets a foundation. Not only a foundation in the early years, a father is someone who gives you social, emotional development.
A father sets the tone. If the father's not present, the father is the priest of his household.
A young lady's first love is her father. She first falls in love with her father, and that relationship that she has with her father determines how she will be in relationship with men for the rest of her life. A young man's first example of being a good husband and a good father is his own father. And without that, he has no idea how to treat women, including his mother.
My dad left me about the age of 8, very traumatic time in my life. Just know the importance of a father being present in the home.
Unfortunately, I didn't grow up with a father in the home.
Mom and my actual biological father divorced when I was 9 months old. And so it was just me and my mom until I was about 13 years old.
Yes, I grew up with a father in the home. That's one of the best things about my home. My mom left early, but I ended up having a father.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
All the way up to I graduated high school, I lived with my father.
I did. I grew up in a two-parent household.
So it just gave me amazing, hope. It gave me an example and something to look up to and aspire to. So I think it definitely set me off on the right path.
I felt important because all of my friends only had, they were single-parent households, so only their mothers were available when I was a kid.
I felt lost. I felt a need to have a relationship with my father, and he chose not to have a relationship with me.
I became an angry kid, a troubled kid. I was literally in the office every day and joining gangs and just doing all the wrong things to really solidify that love void. So yeah, it was tough.
I mean, my grandfather was there also, so it was just normal. I mean, most of my friends had fathers, so pretty normal. I mean, it wasn't a lot of friends that I had who didn't have fathers, so I just probably thought I thought it was normal.
I feel fantastic because my dad's dead and he's gone, but that's not like there's any sorrow with that because everything was complete and all that. Of course, I still have questions I'd love to ask him, but he's not around, so I get a chance to still just make it through without. But my dad was cool, and I had a real cool dad, and loved him a lot, miss him a lot, and learned from him a lot.
Yes, my grandfather, he took over. I started living with my grandparents around 7th grade, more like 8th grade, and grandfather was a pastor. He also was an entrepreneur, so he owned his own lawn service, and that would keep me out of trouble. My uncle Howard, he was an administrator in Flint, Michigan, very influential in my life. I can just remember how well he could articulate himself, the spirit he carried around with him. And also my spiritual father, Pat Magley, the founder of Heroes Camp in South Bend, Indiana, which caters to the fatherless and troubled youth. So he's my dad's best friend. Back when I was in the stroller, he would share stories with me. He was definitely there for me when I needed him and needed that fatherly advice.
My stepfather, the early years, he was more of a father figure to me. And then, under circumstances, bad marriage, drug use, unemployment, that created a situation where he wasn't a good father figure, but he was there in the house.
My mom remarried, so I did have a stepfather through the high school years, and and they're actually still married to this day. Well, my stepfather and I, let's just say he's a different guy. For anyone that knows my stepdad, he's definitely a different dude. And I would say one of the things that I share when I talk to people about divorce and I talk to people about raising children, especially when the father's not in the picture, the number one mistake I say that my mom made, and we've had this conversation, so Mom, if you watch, don't pretend like you forgot we had this conversation. But the number one mistake I think they made when they married each other was that they did not agree to blend families. It was almost like, this is my child, those are your children, and I raise my child, you raise your children, and that was kind of the extent of that. And because of that, I think there was, for me, not a level of respect for him that I probably should have had. And for that matter, on his end, not a level of engagement that I think he could have had in my life to try to help me get through some of those, the tough teenage years. He was in the house, but really didn't have a lot to say about, my upbringing and what I did. He was the provider, and that was about the extent of it. Now, as I've gotten older, I can tell you the turning point was really when I was 21 and I was in the process of buying my first home. I think that's when he looked at me with pride, as a father would and should, and that was probably the first time I can really remember him kind of, embracing me as his son, and then we've had several other moments since then, but it was, that was 8 years after they married.
I had a great relationship with my father. So some of my best memories are us going, from Chicago, we're going out to Navy Pier, going up top of the Ferris wheel, doing the Taste of Chicago in the zoo, going to White Sox games. So I had a great relationship with my father.
I didn't have a relationship with my biological father. Unfortunately, he chose not to be a father. He was absent. Saw him occasionally, maybe holidays, and that was basically about it. I didn't see him very often.
My dad was the breadwinner, so he worked a lot. My mother kind of kept the household together. My dad was always at work.
It was great prior to him leaving. I can remember vividly that he had his own restaurant. I had a meal named after me. He was very influential throughout the South Bend, Indiana community. And so I can remember that he would pick me up and I would spend time with him on the weekends as well as sometimes during the week. So yeah, Dad was great prior to that.
Well, growing up, my dad was actually in Los Angeles, and I was growing up in Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't meet my dad until I was about 5 years old, and after that, I did get to spend some time with him. So my mom, my grandparents, his parents, and then he also made sure that I got a chance to go out to LA to visit him. And I did that, I'd say every summer, every other summer. And then as I got a little bit older, and especially in high school, I would go for Christmas and for summer break. So my relationship with my dad growing up really it started off slow, and then it started to increase in terms of my visits with him. Back in the day, it cost a lot of money to make long distance phone calls, so I didn't get to talk to him on the phone very often. And of course, those plane flights were very expensive, but I did go out to visit and got to know him. But I would say that the relationship with my dad didn't blossom until I was about 18 years old.
For me, it was special. I was what you call Joe's boy. That's my dad's name, Joe. And I was his first son. So my mom left my dad with 4 kids when he was about 28, 29 years old. So I got to grow up with the father versus growing up with my mom. And my dad remarried, so I had a stepmom. But I always had my dad there. And as I got older, I realized that was one of the greatest gifts, because I could have been one of the kids who grew up without a father. And my father was always there. He worked a whole bunch, but he always found time to be there and be a good dad.
It was personal. I mean, I saw him every day. He was always got in about 5 o'clock every day, and we'd sit down, and we all sat down and ate most of the time. So we always talked. Had good conversations, mainly about sports and news, but we did talk at least every day, most of the time when he was at home.
Oh, you see it all throughout the media. So it's the macho, so the abusive father. So that's the father who, yells and belittles and berates his child. We see that demonstrated. Or the absent father. So many situations or many shows, it's always, the child, or when you hear the news, well, this person came from a fatherless home, or these children came from a fatherless home. I think that is one of the biggest stereotypes that we have to address, is that, all we do is get a lot of women pregnant and leave. I think that's a huge, and then through our music and things that we listen through hip hop, it kind of reinforces that stereotype.
Deadbeat dads, not taking care of their financial responsibility, not being there, never present, things like that.
I've seen where a lot of people say black fathers don't love their children, are not good providers, not involved, so to speak, especially in their education and upbringing. I see that more often.
Well, the biggest one I would say is just being absent. You would assume, based on everything that we see and hear, that there just aren't any black men involved in their children's lives, that there are all these black babies going around that have no idea who their father is, or if they know who they are, they haven't talked to them in years. And frankly, that's not the case. As I do a poll, which I often do when I'm either looking at my circle of friends, when I look at young people that I'm mentoring, time and time again, I'm hearing stories about dads being there, dads being involved. So that's, to me, again, statistics show that we are in a cycle of more single mothers raising children. But I'm seeing a lot more young people that have men in their lives that are raising them and doing an effective job at that. It's just, I believe, once the stereotype has been set, once the media embraces that idea and that notion, that's all we see.
That we leave the household, we leave our kids, we don't want to work.
Most all of them are negative, and most all of them, in my view, are wrong. They don't match my history. My history is of a father who did take kids and raise kids, and a mother who left. So I have a different view. My history is of grandfathers who did the same thing, uncles who did the same thing. Matter of fact, all the men in my family have a history of being raising the children on their own. Now, part of that is because they're terrible husbands. So their women end up leaving them, and not only leaving them, but they leave them with them bad kids too. But that's been the history throughout the whole family, and I can go back generations and show you. And I just think it's something that people should, that we should change, and we can make a difference. So in my own way, I try to do just that.
So actually, that's my story, because I was a teen father. So I actually had my first child, Isaiah, when I was 16 years old, so a junior in high school. And like I say, growing up with my dad and having to come to him and explain to him that I was having a child as a teenager, I still remember the conversation. And he sat me down and he said, "Look, I'll support you. You're my son. I'll take care of you. But at the end of the day, this is a decision that you made as a man. So you must take care of your responsibility as a man." And so he, helped me to get a job so that I would be able to provide for my son. He encouraged me to make decisions that weren't absent of my son. So, it wasn't you're going away to school. It's how do you figure out to complete school, to complete college, to start to make a career so that you can take care of your son. And so I appreciate him tremendously because I've had friends who in that same situation didn't necessarily step up to the role.
I became a father at an early age, at the age of 17. And at 17, I knew it was bigger than me, basically, meaning I had someone else I had to be responsible for.
My wife, so I married young and ultimately divorced after almost about 5 years. And then I got married again, and about 2 years into our marriage, we had our son. His name is Matthew. So I'm an older father. I like to joke about the fact that I'm typically the oldest dad in the stands or picking him up from school. But yeah, 8 years ago, I had my one and only child, and he is the joy of my life. I look at him. I've been spending the afternoon with him today and just enjoy spending time with him, enjoy watching him grow and mature. So it's been a lot of fun.
My sophomore year in college, my daughter was conceived, Demetria Kilgore, and she plays volleyball and basketball, and she is definitely a beautiful and highly intelligent individual and the joy of my life. So I really moved down to Dallas to be closer to her. I wanted to break that generational curse.
Oh, at the age of 27, it was kind of reality had happened. Nervous, afraid, scared at the same time.
I became a father October 14, 1989. Presbyterian Hospital, Dallas, Texas. Matthew Redmeyers was born. Very proud day.
And I became a stepfather 32 years ago. I have a son, Kendrick, who's 40 years old. And so for 32 years, I've been in his life, and I've been his stepfather. And to me, stepfathers are a little different than regular fathers. Regular fathers, sometimes you plan to be a father, and sometimes just pop, we're going to have a baby, and you turn out to be a father. But if you're a stepfather, generally it's because you've chosen to be a stepfather. And that was something that I learned even more about my stepmother when I became a stepfather, that she had chose to be in my life. I did the same thing with Kendrick. I chose to be his stepfather. And I think stepfathers are kind of special and kind of important. Matter of fact, they're so important that one of the top stepfathers that's ever been around doesn't get enough play, and I'd like to give him some play, and that would be Jesus' stepfather, whose father was also named Joseph.
Everything. As I said before, sole provider, support, encourager. It means everything. Everything.
Fatherhood means to me obligation, responsibility. In my situation, I think fatherhood is about creating a legacy.
Fatherhood for me fatherhood to me means putting another's needs, wants, and aspirations ahead of your own. And what I mean by that is when I look at my boys, you can't be selfish. So it can't be me. You have to figure out how you set up your life so that it benefits them, so that they can have a better life than you had. I think that's what every father since the beginning of time has always wanted to do. They wanted to leave a better life for their children than they had. And then hopefully their children will leave a better life than they had, and so on and so forth. And that's how you build legacy. So to me, fatherhood is protecting, providing, and like I said, building a legacy and a foundation that they can build on.
Father sets the tone. If the father's not present, if the father is the priest of his household, he's the leader. You know, that's how God made it. Not saying that he's the dictator or the authoritarian, but he's the one that has that relationship with God and receives his orders from God in order to be able to disperse that to the family. If the father's not present, things are out of order. Now our women are forced to be in that position, and you know, fathers are definitely where our men learn how to be men, our young ladies learn how to be treated by a man, so they're very important.
Breadwinner, provider, confidant, someone they can always depend on, someone that's always there.
To me, fatherhood means everything. You know, I've been blessed to experience a lot of things in life. I've accomplished some things that if you had asked me even 10 years ago, I would have never imagined that I would have accomplished those things. But to me, becoming a father is, and I believe always will be, the pinnacle of my life. Just, you know, knowing that I now have an opportunity to mold and shape the next generation of little newborn men, and hopefully encourage him to make an impact on the world, just as I'm trying to. That just means so much to me. Fatherhood is about, you know, not just creating the baby, but building a life that allows that child to really be successful in life. It's, you know, not just providing money, and this does not mean that if you're not in the home that you can't be an amazing father, because you still will have time with that child. You dedicate that time to make sure that they understand who you are, what you are, and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a father. And I think those are the key ingredients that, to me, fatherhood is just, it's like no other. I mean, obviously, I'd be in big trouble if I didn't talk about motherhood being, you know, kind of the pinnacle. But as a man, the only thing I can experience is being a father. And to me, fatherhood is just incredibly important, and it's such an amazing opportunity that we have as men to shape and mold and create legacies.
Somebody who provides that kind of guidance, gives you direction, can see possibilities in you that you can't even see in yourself. And for someone like me, that was important. I grew up as a runt. I was real small growing up, and my dad could see the possibilities in me and didn't let me sit on the sidelines just because I was smart, and made sure that I had girlfriends and went out on dates and made sure I did all those kind of, quote, manly kind of things. And I think that's something that a dad can do that even a hard-trying mom can't do. I like to use the example that, you know, if you know anything about what an athletic supporter is, well, if it's my mom, well, when my mom goes to the store and buys my athletic supporter, she gets an extra large because she's concerned about my ego. My dad understands that I just wear a small because it's my waist size.
I love the fact that I've nurtured someone, given them, instilled values, good values, and at this point in their life, they're all adults now, and I can see what I've poured into them and what they've come to be as adults.
That I get a chance to try to practice some of the same things on Kendrick that my dad did with me, and to get a chance to be that role model, to get a chance to set that standard for him, to show him how men act. And I have real strong feelings about how men act, and we take that seriously in our family, with my brothers, with my nephews, with my son, with all of them. And having a father, having a man around is important. So, for example, we don't get into domestic violence or abusing women, so we make sure that we check each other on that. And by being there to be a father, I can show Kendrick an example of somebody who knows how to handle anger, for example, and another way to do that. So I don't have to perpetuate things that I've seen happen in the past. So having a father around there, being a father, having some male figure in your life, to me, is one of the most important things going on. And for me, it's been one of the best things going on too.
I think it changed me. My little one is very affectionate. She's always all over me, kissing, love yous all day. I think that's the stuff that I love the most.
Knowing that you're responsible for somebody else, knowing that what you do makes a difference. If you lead them down the right path, they'll follow. Being able to look up at graduation and when they cross the stage, it's important to you because you know you've done what you were supposed to do.
The thing I love most about being a dad is I used to those smiles. You know, I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-month-old, and just watching how different things come alive and how you have fun. I mean, as a dad, that's one thing that we get to do is we get to have fun with our kids. And so seeing those smiles, hearing that laughter is one of the most amazing things about being a father.
To hear my baby girl call me dad and to hear her wanting to spend time with me and ask me how my day is going. And I'm able to interact with her, really see her grow into being a beautiful young lady. So it's great to see somebody that depends on you, who looks up to you, and who is actually looking for their identity from you.
Making sure that my kids understand that a father needs to be at home. He needs to provide for his family, love his wife, love his kids, just be around. You can't have a kid and never be around because the kid needs your guidance, the kid needs your love and your support. So if you're going to be a father, an everyday father. And when I say every day, I mean every day, 24/7.
Wow, I'm a mentor to young men now. I'm not sure if that breaks the cycle, but it kind of gives them an insight or an idea of what it's like to possibly have a father around or a big brother or a male figure in their lives.
So me, personally, like I say, I founded a Facebook page called Fatherless Matters. We have reached over 40,000 plus likes, different continents, here in the U.S. And what that is we encourage fathers to step up to the role. So men who are doing what they need to do, we're supporting them, we're embracing them, we're giving advice. And to those men who have not yet stepped into the role, we're encouraging them to do so. So we do Daddy and Me activities where we go out into the community and try and do things with our children. On a more personal level, like I said, I try and be mentors to young men in the community who don't have fathers. So I had a group called Men of Vision, which was through our local high school, which that's what it was. It was male mentorship. And then I also run the Kingdom Kids, so the children's church department at my place of worship.
I encourage a lot of young fathers to be involved, be engaged, not only being a provider, but being a nurturer to their children. And I encourage any young person, any young father to do that.
I believe awareness and finding out the root of why fathers aren't in the household, what generational curses are following our fathers. Did their father leave them, and did their father's father leave them, and what was the reason? And how can we offset that and bring help and allow our fathers to obtain employment and security and awareness, spiritually, mentally, and as well as physically. So then that way, our youth aren't lost. As fathers are prepared.
I've been mentoring young men through various nonprofit organizations. At this point in my life and career in entrepreneurship, I have several businessmen that I also mentor, helping them, establish their careers, and they too are young fathers. So I do everything I can in terms of pouring into other guys and learning as much as I can and then sharing. I also am a motivational speaker, so I will go out and talk to groups of students talking about fatherhood or about my relationship with my father and how I was able to overcome some of those obstacles that I was faced with. So I do spend a lot of time talking about that, and not to mention doing trainings and workshops with men specifically around fatherhood and around relationships, not just with their children, but also with their babies' moms or with their spouses or whomever, so that way they are much more, I'd say, engaged and effective in what they do. And I've even started a foundation as well that we will continue to make donations to organizations that are providing mentors to young people in communities that need those men in their lives.
One is I continue to push the idea that there should be safe sex and that people should practice safe sex. I'm not stupid or dumb or unrealistic to think that kids will necessarily abstain, even though I think that may be their first choice. But I think sex gets to be a natural thing. So if you're going to naturally want to have sex, then maybe you need to do something to make sure that you only produce children when you're ready to produce children. So that, for me, means contraceptives is a good answer. Conversations with parents and mentors and other older people is a good answer. Because sometimes when you only get your knowledge about sex or about love from porno films or from the streets or from the radio or whatever, you don't get the full picture. And if you talk with some older folks, they can sometimes give you a different kind of view. And I think I'm one of those older folks who should try to be out there sharing that older view and providing that kind of impact. So within our fraternity, we do a lot with our Kappa leagues to provide them with guidance. Outside of that and other organizations, I do the same thing. When I get a chance to speak, I do public speaking, motivational speaking. I try to make sure I touch on those kind of subjects and even highlight examples of men who I think are doing it right and who are good fathers. So that's the main thing I do. I'm kind of blessed now. I'm just about on the other side of having to worry about making babies. I'm at the grandfather stage, so I don't think unless I really slip up, I'm going to have to worry about adding in that way. So my way is to be like the old wise guy and tell you, hey, there's a way that you can have fun, be safe, and not produce any extra babies. The other side is it also eats into your income.
I think when two people are interested in having a baby, you have to make sure that it's the right chemistry, the right everything. Because I mean, the goal is to raise a child together, not in a split household. That's not the mold that people see. I just think that more thought should be put into it before having children.
Really, it's more men have to be concerned with not only their household. I think that if more men were to get involved, if more men were to actively seek out other young men to mentor, that would help. Because like I say, a lot of men want to be good fathers, they just have never had it displayed. They don't know what it looks like, they don't know what it sounds like, they don't, mothers, as much as, like you say, our single mothers, I give them a huge amount of credit. It takes a man to actually raise and build up a man. And so I think if more of us who were out there, who were doing it, who had found some of the answers, because I don't think anyone has all of the answers, would help build up these younger men, that we would make a huge dent in the problem of absentee fatherhood.
My organization, Finding Me Academy Global, where we help kids discover their purpose, because it is very important for me to leave a legacy for my child.
So here's my perspective on fatherhood. It's pretty simple. Number one is we have to change the patterns of the past. I don't care who you are. I don't care how perfect your family appeared to be. There are patterns that are negative and need to be broken. Each one of us must study ourselves, know ourselves, and determine what are those patterns that are going to be detrimental to the well-being of our family and our children, and we have to change those patterns. Then we have to create new patterns. We have to model new behaviors. What I know as a therapist, as a counselor, and studying psychology is that people do what they see you do, not what they hear you tell them to do. So you may say to your son or to your daughter, I want you to study hard, but they see you being lazy and sitting around and not having a full-time job. For whatever reason, I don't know. And I'm not here to really pinpoint that thing. But what my point is, they're going to do what they see you do. They're not going to do what you tell them to do. Modeling is crucial. And then I don't care how much we try, how hard we try, parenting, I believe, fatherhood is one of the hardest jobs on the planet. We're going to make mistakes. I know I have made mistakes. And when I make those mistakes, the thing I had to do, the thing that I'm learning to do even more, is to humble myself and to apologize. We have to apologize. When we make mistakes, we must apologize, make amends, and then continue on modeling the right type of behavior. And I don't care what type of upbringing, if you had a father, if you didn't have a father, we all can be better fathers. We can learn how to be better. And it starts with changing the negative patterns, modeling the new patterns that we want to develop, and learning that we're all going to make mistakes. We just need to own them, recognize them, and let people know that we're sorry for our wrongs.